Good morning, Hagerstown group, home churches. This is Pastor Sam, and I'm recording another message for you guys for the home churches. And when I'm done with this lesson, like we always do, the home church leaders are going to ask 4 questions. And so as I'm going through this lesson, I really want everybody to really pay attention to the scripture that will be shared through the lesson. There's only one scripture every week that I do, but then there are 4 questions. They're always the same 4 questions, and we really want everybody to contemplate these questions, not give quick answers, but really think through the answers, and then try to apply those answers to your life on a daily basis, really. So today what I want to talk about is, does it matter who knows who as it relates to the context of God and Jesus? Does it matter who knows who? So I'm going to kind of start off with with kind of an analogy, kind of a story, if you will, maybe 2, but it'll start with my own life. Way back when I was between 22 and 25, I was a songwriter and a singer, and I actually was pursuing it pretty seriously. I actually had a record that came out back in the days of vinyl, a 45 that was called A Dreamer Dreaming of You, and I had written it in 1986, and this song was really well received, and it actually got airplay in the Washington, D.C. area on WPGC radio, which is now a hip-hop station. It was a love song. It would be considered adult contemporary right now, and but I lived in the New Orleans area at the time when the song came out. And in 1987, I believe it was, I had a really incredible opportunity, and it was to go to see Liberace. Now, there may be some youngsters watching this who have no idea who Liberace was, but for those of us who may remember Liberace, I had a chance to meet Liberace backstage at one of his concerts because he heard, or his manager had heard, Dreaming of You, or A Dreamer Dreaming of You, the song I had written and recorded, and he really liked it. His manager liked it, so I got to go to Liberace's last concert in New Orleans. Unfortunately, he passed away a few months later, but at that time, I got to go backstage and meet Liberace, and it was an amazing opportunity, an incredible experience for me, because Liberace in his time was absolutely one of the biggest stars ever. He had his own TV series, he had his own entertainment program, and everybody knew who Liberace was. He even was on the Adam West version of Batman. He got to be on a couple of episodes of that. So this was a very big star in that day, and I got a chance to meet him. But here's the thing. Even though I knew a lot about Liberace, and I knew his career started in the 40s, and I had read his biography, and I knew his discography, and I understood he probably was one of the greatest entertainers I had ever seen, and I could tell you so much about Liberace. When I met Liberace, he had no idea who I was. None. All he knew was, this is the kid that wrote this song, A Dreamer Dreaming of You. I may want to put it in my act, but he didn't know me from Adam. Another example of this, I suppose, would be a good one, would be Barack Obama. I know this man was born in Hawaii. I know he was born in 1961, in August. I know that this man was of Nigerian father and of a mother who was born in Kansas. I also know that his father was a black Nigerian and his mother was a white woman from Kansas, and he would be considered interracial or biracial in his DNA, so to speak. I also know that the father went back to Nigeria, that the mother was 18 when she had him, and that the father had a completely other family in Nigeria, and then she remarried a man by the name of, whose last name was Sotero. I know that Barack Obama has a younger sister who is his half sister because her last name is, or maiden name is Sotero, and he was actually raised in Indonesia, which is the largest Muslim country in the world, but then his mother sent him to be raised by his grandparents, his Caucasian grandparents in Kansas, for the rest of his life until he grew up. I also know that he ended up going to Harvard University. He got his law degree there as well and became the very first black president of the Harvard Review. I also know ultimately what the rest of us know, that this became the first black president under the Constitution of the United States that was instituted in 1787 under our new Constitution, so to speak. So he became the 44th president of the United States. I know all these things about Barack Obama, but here's what I can also tell you. If I managed to get past the Secret Service and I walked right up on this man who I know all this information about, he wouldn't know me. I'd say President Obama, or I'd say Barack, or I'd say Barry, hey, it's Sam. He'd look at me like I was crazy. And in fact, he'd probably yell, security, right? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that man, really. I know of him. I've heard of him. I admire him. I respect him, but I don't know him, and he certainly does not know me. So here's what I want to address today. Here's what I want us all to think about. We have heard a lot of things about Jesus of Nazareth. We genuinely have. But have we really gotten to know him? Do we really know him from the word that is the Holy Bible? Do we understand who this man is from the scriptures, where we find the most information about him in the biographies of him written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? Do we really know who Jesus is in context? Or do we just have our own preconceived notion of who he is, and then do we allow our own agenda and culture to then distort who this man really is and what he genuinely stands for and how he expects us to live as we try to follow him, or if we even try to follow him? Or do we just pay lip service and say, yeah, I'm a follower of Jesus, or I'm a Christian, or whatever, but our lives are so far removed from what this is supposed to look like? That's the real question, isn't it? Are we living this life? Or are we just calling ourselves Christians? Are we doing what we believe our standard of good is, or are we being godly, which is the only way we can be, is godly if we are genuinely following Jesus of Nazareth? So here's the thing. Many of us are going to answer those questions that I just asked and say, yeah, absolutely. I know I follow Jesus. I know I'm a Christian. I know I'm right with God. Some of us have come to faith in him, believing that we did it through a tradition, maybe a prayer, or maybe some institutionalized thing, or maybe because a pastor told us this is how you're supposed to do it. But we've never really dug deep and researched it ourselves to find out exactly what did Jesus and the apostles he left behind say? How did they say we're supposed to come into a relationship with God through Jesus? That's important, because are we going to really leave our eternity? Are we going to really leave the life we're leading right now here on earth up to what we've been told by people who may be taking the scriptures out of context? Are we? I chose not to do that. I chose to dig. I chose to get into the Bible and read, and I chose to study it out in context and figure out the historical context, the cultural context, figure out who were the men that wrote down all the words, the 40 men who wrote down the 66 books of the Bible, Old and New Testament, and then figure out, okay, what are the lives of the men who wrote the New Testament, where we find out all about Jesus? That was important. So I'm going to share a passage of scripture with you that Jesus actually says. He says, many will come to me on that day. Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evil doers. Here's the point. And I say this with all love today. It doesn't matter if we think we know Jesus. All that matters is if he really knows us. So as the H-Town Home Group, home church leaders ask those 4 questions, the biggest thing I want us all to take to heart at the end of this message is, does Jesus really know me? And if the answer is, I don't think he does, then please take that seriously. And let's start to study the Bible with you so that you can see what it takes to have a relationship with Jesus. So now, as the home church leaders ask the 4 questions, thank you for watching this lesson today and really paying attention. But remember, it's not about, do we believe we know Jesus? It's about, does Jesus really know us? I love all of you. Have a great session.